How do folks, David here with another video, and this one is one that has been a very long time coming. It is something that I have put off for an awful long time, but not putting off the subject matter. As you can tell already from the title, I am going to be rebuilding my Gaunt's Ghosts army, the Tanith First and Only. How did I get into the position of having to rebuild it? Well, that is a tale in and of itself. If you don't want to listen to that, I will leave a timestamp down below and you can jump forward to the meat of the sort of rebuild work. I don't mind, but it is only fair to give a cautionary tale on what not to do with your army, where to start. About 15 years ago, the city was rocked by earthquakes. Some of them were very violent. It wasn't the biggest natural disaster the world has ever seen, but some people didn't survive it. And it did change life to a certain degree. Infrastructure was damaged, houses were damaged, the roads were an absolute mess. Just after the large quakes, it looked more like a war zone, quite frankly. And people did change the way that they did things. Now, one of the things that we found, unfortunately, due to circumstances during that period of time, we lost one of our vehicles. So we were down to one family car, and I had my motorbike. Now, I was perfectly happy with that state of affairs, because with the roads the state that they were, it was actually easier to avoid potholes and cracks and that sort of thing on a motorbike than it was in a car, and people's suspensions were getting wrecked left, right and centre just with the state of the place. Plus there was that thing at the back of your mind that there was always the possibility that another swarm of earthquakes would come through. But despite all of that, life went on and people were trying to get things back to normal. Stadiums had been kind of rebuilt with temporary seating and things like that, so sports could carry on. From our point of view, things like Armageddon was moved to a different venue. Armageddon being the sort of Comic Con for this city. That was moved to a different venue, and that happened, delayed though it had been, and Wargames tournaments were still going on. Long story short, I had been working on this army sort of prior to the earthquakes happening, and I'd kind of stopped. Tournament was coming up and I thought, yeah, I'll give it a go. Now, the reason why I went for this particular army in the tournament was because I was wanting to enter and get a good result in a particular category. I am not the greatest gamer in the world, and at the end of the day, by the time it was finished, and it wasn't, I think I only managed to get it finished sort of like a couple of days beforehand. It was completely untested. So in terms of gameplay, I wasn't necessarily expecting a particular high ranking, but they did have a subcategory for essentially the best presented army, and that's the one that I was going for. An awful lot of work had gone into it. Pretty much every miniature, apart from sort of like the official Gaunt's Ghost ones, had been converted in some way, shape or form. I was really proud of them, and hey, it was book famous. Now, because of everything that had gone on, there were still things sort of at the back of your mind, contingencies just in case, you know, another big one hit. So I was heading off to the competition and I left the family car. We did have young children at the time, so I left the family car with my wife so that if anything happened, they had a means of getting the hell out of the city. All fine. But that did mean that I had to pack the army, and I mean, bearing in mind how big an Imperial army is, Imperial Guard army that is, sorry, I had to pack it down into essentially a space that could fit in my top box. Long story short, I packed it way too tightly. I did not allow enough padding around it. The Roads, as I say, were an absolute mess, and it was packed so tightly that every bump, crevice, divot that I hit was, unbeknownst to me, causing damage. And I got to the competition and opened it up, and the first figure that I got out was Gaunt himself, and I saw the state of them and my heart dropped. I didn't take a full inventory. I saw the state of some of the other things that were in there, and yeah, I just couldn't. Obviously, I mean, with everything else that was going on, emotions were heightened, things like that. Nowadays, maybe I would have gone, okay, yeah, let's get them on the table, let's have a game. I couldn't face it. So I withdrew from the competition, went back home, grabbed better packing material, transferred it, and came back home. And for the past 15 years they have languished in that state of repairs. Why am I getting round to doing it now? Well, because I'm older, an awful lot of time has passed, and I can face doing the repairs on them, plus the extra large packing that I have used for them is just taking up way too much space, which I need because the collection is continually growing. But they deserve it. It is the army that I am proudest of, short-lived as it was, but there is an act of consolidation about to occur. Moral of the story: take care of your figures and use decent carry cases for them. So how did this army come about? Well, the books, obviously, but also it was the fact that I am more of a modeller than a gamer, and the books were so rich in material, with character descriptions and different supporting cast, for want of a better word. The modelling opportunities were rife. Being a fan of the books, on a whim I bought the metal box set of the Gaunt miniatures and one of the blister packs of troops as well. So that was the first part of the army. Now, yes, I have a thing for lots of minis, and so the plan was always to expand on it and get a really big army. I grabbed hold of the Imperial Guard Codex, and obviously I knew, and sorry, this was back when it was known as Imperial Guard as opposed to Astra Militarum, whatever the hell they call it now. And I knew that it was going to be a horde army, so it was going to consist of an awful lot of miniatures. And with the Tanith being an infantry regiment, it was going to be more miniatures than usual, because obviously one of the big things about the Guard is that they've got their big armoured regiments. So back then, obviously, the price of GW stuff was far cheaper. It is very, extremely, massively rare for me to buy anything new nowadays. But you can also, on the second-hand market, get some really good deals. And one of the things that came up was a bulk lot of Imperial Guard. I think I would have paid somewhere in the region of about 100 quid, 150 US, that kind of ballpark. And I mean, just think of how much that'll stretch nowadays in terms of purchasing an army. There was more in the lot than I kept, and I'll be perfectly honest, I managed to make back in selling off the little odds and ends of stuff that I didn't want, things like rattling snipers and Ogrins, that kind of thing. I almost made me money back and ended up with a free army. It was really good. I do recall, because I wanted a squadron of 3 Lehman Russ, I did actually go out and purchase a Lehman Russ kit. And later on there was another lot came up for the original Imperial Army, the Guard troops that came back around about the same time as the Womble Marines. So they've been integrated. So the whole lot is a mishmash of troops from all over the place. There's Katakan, there's obviously the original Ghost stuff, there's Cadian, there's original Imperial Army, a whole mess of stuff that has been thrown together, converted, additional heads from other manufacturers, so there's some head swaps, and scratch built stuff. The cloaks all had to be handmade out of formed plastic packing material. That was good. Some of the stuff in the army is not necessarily canonical. There are 2 regiments that are represented. Obviously there's the Tanith themselves, but because I did want an amount of armour in there, not necessarily a massive amount, but some at least, I went with their allies, the Narmenian 1st Armoured Brigade under General Grismond. Some of the vehicles that are painted in Narmenian colours don't appear in the books as far as I can recall. I got some Sentinels as part of the big bulk lot, and I did want to include those, and I got a Basilisk as well. I don't think the Basilisk was going to be part of the competition army, but it was painted up in colours for the Narmenians in any case, because hey, it was heavy armour. And yes, somebody else did use Basilisks, but I wanted to sort of like consolidate it rather than have one vehicle kind of off by itself looking different to everything else. And then there was loads and loads and loads of troops. There's mortar teams in there which I again can't recall anybody using. For some reason one of the actual Tanith miniatures has a plasma gun, and I can't remember anyone apart from Commissar Hark having one of those. But it was an official Ghost miniature, so therefore it's painted up and it's a Ghost. So yes, that is the history of how I got it. It's realistically time to get on and repair some damage. I'm going to start off with the Narmenians because they're the big ones, and the damage to those should be hopefully relatively simple to get out of the way. Then I will move on to the troops and slowly work through the hordes. Sitting in that foam packing, languishing due to transit damage, I'll drag them out. Here they are, 4 trays of them, and in various states of repair. Broken sword, chipped paint, need a refresh. That's the man himself. Ezra Apnit, missing an arm. So yeah, this is what I have to go through miniature by miniature and sort out. Awful lot of named characters, an awful lot that I've forgotten that are named characters. I'm going to have to go through and reread the books. That's going to be a dirty job, but somebody has to do it. No, I'll enjoy it. But yeah, as I say, load of named characters from all through the books. Let's face it, at the end of the day, the Ghosts are probably the most documented Imperial Guard regiment that there is, and I have an army of them. Pretty much every miniature, apart from official Gaunt's Ghosts figures, and there weren't that many of them at the time, have been converted in some way, shape or form. Different weaponry, head swaps, cloaks obviously. But what I am going to start on tonight is the armour. So yeah, a few little things. Missing studs on the extra armour plates. So I'll tackle the armour tonight, and then I'll go and do an inventory of what is okay and what is not on the infantry, probably tomorrow, and see just how big a task it is. Alright, let's get on with it. And this first one is, well, essentially non-canonical. I'll be perfectly honest, I cannot realistically recall any point in the Gaunt's Ghosts books where they talk about Sentinels, but I did have some. I wanted to include them, and the only place that they would fit was going to be as scout runners for the first Narmenians. So, unit of 3. For some reason I thought they were all armed with auto cannons, but it's 2 auto cannon, 1 las cannon. Now that I think back, it's entirely possible it's because I only had 2 auto cannons and didn't particularly want anything kind of anti-infantry, because at the end of the day it's an anti-armor unit. I wanted the auto cannons because at the end of the day Imperial Guard don't have the best to hit rolls. Auto cannon have more shots per turn, whereas a las cannon has better armor penetration, but you only get the one of them. So I was perfectly happy to trade off a little bit of armor penetration for more chances to actually hit. Plus, autocannon are not too bad against flyers, and if I recall correctly, that was round about the advent of flyers being introduced into the game, so that was the reason why these were autocannon armed. So, quick check. This one appears to be fine. No issues with that. Couple of spider webs on. It just needs a clean up. This one, okay, the armor plating on top is starting to lift, so that does need a repair. Oh yeah, with them being an armored brigade, I went for the heavier armor version rather than the open top version on these. This one is the one that's in the worst state of repair. Leg has come off at the top, and again the top of the armor plating is lifting there. Oh, and the decal's lifting as well. Ooh, right. That's something to check for. They appear okay. That one appears okay. Alright, I'll sort this one first. Very easy repair job on that. Let's just get a wee bit of super glue on the end of a stick. Lift that up. Run it about the place. And press it back down. Alright, that's good to go. I'm going to move this one out of the way because that is not a repair job, so it does not count towards the pile of success. Same deal with this one. Now the plate on this one has actually warped a little bit, so I'm going to have to glue it on both sides. Just make sure that is stuck down firmly first, and I'll leave that a little bit to set properly before I go for the other side. While I'm doing that, I may as well sort this joint here, mate that back in, and then clamp that top back down, and that is back battlefield ready. Tomorrow it is a check over of the Leman Russ and the Basilisk for the Narmenians, and then I've also got to do that full inventory of all of the damaged ones in the infantry platoons, and yeah, that's the one where I'm likely to get the most upset. But they're underway, finally. It's been too long. Alright, let's start off with this Basilisk. Alright, the Basilisk's okay. Grisman's mount. Yes, there is bits missing off here. These were just studs made out of lentils. So yeah, I'll glue a couple of those back on and repaint them. That's not a problem. Ooh. Okay, you're a bit on the wobbly side. You need a bit of a glue. And he's missing his aerial. Okay. I'll have to dig out the guitar wire and replace that. Yeah, this one was again a conversion. It's got a floppy barrel. That is because I'll just get them there for comparison. Ooh, okay, yeah, spotted some damage on that one. Is it Conqueror pattern? The big proper anti-tank one rather than the battle cannon. I just used the same kit. Rather than getting any of the Forge World conversions, which was the only stuff that was available at the time, I just cut it kind of there and replaced that with brass tubing, which does make it a heavier barrel. So I'll have to see at some stage how I can sort of stiffen that up and not necessarily have to keep it, yeah, I'm going to say it, as erect as it is. Alright, so Grisman's one does need some work on it. Yeah, bit of damage there, bit of paint scuffing, nothing too bad. Just on that side gun, yeah, okay. Right, 2 there, and let's have a swizz of this one. Decal's fine there. And was that lifting at the bottom of that one? No, it's not, that's okay. Yeah, again, just a wee bit of paint scuffing in there, but I'm not going to count that as actual damage. In fact, that might be from the original paint job, just where I sort of missed a bit. No, that one is looking good. So 2 that are in need of repair. I'll get on with these and then that will be the Narmenian contingent all fixed. Okay, let's attend to this one with the damaged smoke launcher first. Just make sure I don't drop it on the model. Just a wee dab of polystyrene cement. Pop it on its side like that, so I can see a bit better what I'm doing. Okay, that's sitting there quite nicely by itself, so I'll put that off to the side and call that one done. That was dead easy. I need to give this one a brush off first. Just get some of that accumulated grime away from around where I want to make the joint. I'll give it a proper cat hair and all sorts. I'll give it a proper clean later on, but I just want to get around so I can see what I'm doing here. Same deal. Alright, I'm going to have to hold that. Oh, okay. And yeah, the decal on that one is lifting. I don't know whether or not you can see it. Just there. Okay, I'll need to smooth that down as well. Yeah, I think that'll hold. Right, I'll just get a wet brush and sort that decal out. I might have to replace that one. I don't know whether that might smooth out with a hairdryer. We shall see. Right, it's red lentil time. Get a drop of super glue on there. I'm just using a pin to pick this up. Whoops, and get it down into place. Come on, this one doesn't want to pick up. I'll just lift the turret off so I can get at that other one. No, that's too big, that one. Okay, right, now what I have done off camera for this turret, because it was kind of finicky. I can't remember why. I'd have to check back in the army list, but I believe the command tank had extra comms of some kind, which is why it's sort of got this radio stuff here, and I put a pair of antennas on here, both of which have snapped off, so they need replacing. I'd obviously had a go at doing that on this one. You can see sort of like the remnants of super glue there. So that must have been a problematic one. What I've done, I've filed it down flat, and using a heated proggy thing, I have heated that up, pushed it into the plastic to actually get some holes. Using guitar string here, I've cut a new pair of aerials, and we just need to get them mounted in. There's one. Make sure I get it the right way. And two. Now is the brilliant thing of colour matching, because this was originally a spray coat. It was one of the Tamiya colours. I almost want to say deck tan or dark yellow, something like that, and I don't have any more of it, but it is only in a couple of places, and it does get sort of taken over by a bit of dark lining with a flesh wash, so hopefully I'll be able to match it up reasonably well, and it's not going to be too obvious that they are replacements, but I'll leave that a little while to dry first. And of course, such is my luck, as I was giving it a soft brush to, you know, get all the dust and things like that off, another rivet flicked away. I must have been using absolutely rubbish glue at the time. God. Alright, I will pop this one out of the way, and there was just this wee bit of touch up to do on the sponson here. Alright, that is that one all done. Right, here comes the finicky job of trying to colour match that colour. This is Tamiya Deck Tan, and I've used that because it's sort of a muted colour. And now, let's see if I can get it close to by adding a wee bit of flesh wash. Oh, I like that. That's not bad, you know. Right, okay, I'm going to have to undercoat it first. Let's go for grey. One thing I do notice, there is obviously a very vast difference in the way that I have sort of done the weathering on this one compared to later models like that Bloodpack Chimera. Yes, there is some sort of rust spots and stains, but yeah, it's noticeable going back in time, which essentially is what I'm doing, revisiting models that I did 15 years ago and just seeing what the difference is. Right, I'll give that a couple of seconds to dry and then I'll come back to the tan colour. Don't you hate it when you forget to turn the camera on? All right, yeah, I've already done some, and that is not the worst colour match in the world. By the time I get a flesh wash on that, that's I don't think I'm going to be able to tell the difference. Just a couple more to do on this side. All right. Stray cat here. Not bad at all. Okay. Right, I will leave that to dry, and then it's flesh wash and just a wee bit of sort of like grey stippling. And the Grismond will be back in action. Right, now I've got to find out where I replaced them. Bit around there to blend that one in. Give it a touch up just on there. Bit in that gap there where it's just sort of lifted. And then it's just going to be a wee bit of grey stipple. Right, the last little bit is that stipple coat. Yeah, just a bit more around there. Final checks are just a wee bit of chip paint there. And give that a bit on it. I am going to call that done. Pop the turret back on. Grismond's back in action. Yay! All right. Time for the infantry. I'll best go and see what's available. Right, first box of infantry. Now this looks like the support box. I think this was heavy weapons teams. I think. Let me grab them out, put them together, and let's see what I've got. Right, okay. So it looks like I've got a mortar team and 2 teams of missile launchers. We know them as tread feathers. The ones that I've put on the bases aren't looking bad at all. There's maybe the odd little sort of chip here and there, but I can come back to them. The ones that I've left off the bases, certainly over this side, you can see certainly around the hair area there is quite a bit of sort of scuffing and the paint has come away, so I do need to give them some attention. And this is one of the famed snipers, and somewhere around, yeah, you can see where his cloak has come away slightly, and that is in need of repair. Okay. And yeah, more paint chipped off. That was that kind of thing was very prevalent. Again, as I say, because I just packed it too tightly. There's one named character that I can recognise here, and I can't remember for the life of me the name of his ammo loader, but that is Try Again Bragg. And as you can see, his hair is in dire need of a do-over. So I will grab these off and I'll go start on some of the repaints. Oh yeah, just while I've got them here, and there's a bit of a mix and match. This one, from what I can tell, is one of the original Gaunt Ghosts miniatures, and that would have been the Tanith war knife. That's what I would have sort of taken the dimensions from, because wherever possible all of them had war knives added to them. These ones, as you can tell from the fact that they've got tattoos, these were Katakan jungle fighters originally. So generally for the Tanith, unless it was an actual Tanith miniature, then I would have been using a Katakan for them. And this is Cadian, obviously. The Belladon intake. And I did try and keep it sort of uniform with this kind of all the way through. And this one right here, that, apart from having a Necromunda, one of the Ganger Hive heads, that body is old first edition Imperial Guard, so they would have been the Vervenhivers, unless they were female, in which case, if it was female, it was also a Vervenhiver. So yeah, as I'm going through these, there you go, I've done all 3 intakes, and yeah, there are ones around, obviously. Try Again Bragg unfortunately met his demise before they joined up with the Belladon, but he was such a big part of the books, he's in there. So don't look for a canonical timeline. If they were a big part of the book and they were memorable, they're in the army. It's time for a quick show and tell. Ignore all the ones that are over on that side, they're not getting done this time. But I have dragged out as many of the named characters as I can quickly find, and we'll see how many of them that I can get done. Now, these ones appear to be fine. These ones have some form of damage. Let's have a quick look to start off with at the ones that have survived. And the greatest survivor of all, that has been in so many scrapes and completed missions by himself, Scout Master McCall. Yeah, I told you, I have, all of these named characters from the books. Who have we got here? Sergeant Aegon Soric, Axe Rake, Bad Leg, Lost an Eye, and yeah, there's that shell case that caused his downfall. I hope I get this one correct. Was it Commissar Ludd that came in round about the time they joined up with the Belladon? And just from the weaponry, I am picking that this was Major Roan, because it's only officers that would get a pistol in close combat or special characters. Plus there's that starburst tattoo over his eye. That's what picks it for me. I could be wrong. Like I say, it's been an awful long time since I've read the books. Now, some of these I am going to have to quite possibly put the name up top, because I am not 100% certain that I'm going to get it right. So, damage to this one. Yeah, there's stuff around the hand, a little bit around the top of the cloak. After the other ones, I was kind of expecting this. But if you see the back of the head, he's another one of the major Vervenhivers, and I cannot for the life of me remember who he is, but he suffered head trauma, and he makes it all the way through to the last book. The only one of the ghosts with minesweeping kit, Shoggy Domo. Ezra Apnit, yeah, obviously missing an arm. It's sitting just over there. The rest of him looks pretty good, and yes, this is the original garb from when they first meet him, when they go down to Geryon. Commissar Victor Hark. Bit of work needs done up round his hat, and yeah, he lost an arm, which is why it's got that metallic replacement. And of course, his plasma pistol does give it away. Now, I know this guy was one of the Geryon 12. He's the big flamer guy, and was always bumming low stick, however you pronounce it, LHO, off people. Why on earth did I model that on? But yeah, that was to differentiate between the other flame troopers and this guy, Doc Dorden, the original Tanith medic. There's, with him being a metal miniature, yeah, there's just some touch-ups around sort of like exposed or prominent places. You can see there's paint chipped off around his sleeves and around his bag, so he needs a touch up. Oh, and yes, I appreciate that they've given this miniature a pistol and he refuses to use them, but I'm relatively certain that there was a short story where he did. Bragg, you've seen before. Certainly a fair amount of paint touch up to be done on him. The Master Sniper, again with these metal models, an awful lot of paint chipping. He's going to need a touch up. But yeah, some of the areas are quite bad on him, but nothing that can't be sorted out. Another one of the Gerian 12, Scout McVenna. Obviously the staff needs to be straightened out on him. I'm not 100% certain how I'm going to do that. I think it's just plastic, so I may be able to get away with heating it. But there's a few paint touch-ups to be done on him. Obviously, he was one of the hidden martial artist. Don't ask me to pronounce whatever the hell style it was that he practiced. But staff fighting, and he's got his straight silver strapped to the end of it. Tonacrid, if you're wondering where the garb is from, I believe it was the Guns of Tanith when they were on Fantine. She managed to get hold of a flying jacket, and that is why she is in flying leathers. Just a few touch-ups. Again, it's that milliput that has not held the paint and it's rubbed off. Yeah, I think her original stuff was she was one of the Dark Eldar. That's what I built that up around. And then of course there's Gaunt himself, and there's a fair amount of paint touch-up to be done on him. Alright, I will get through as many of those named characters today as I possibly can. Wish me luck. Alright, you're going to have to excuse me if the sound quality is not that brilliant. I am not bothering to mic up because I just want to get as much done as I possibly can. Alright, we'll go for Ezra first, because that is a glue job. Yeah, the join looks okay there. It looks like I've done the same silly trick that I did with the Dark Eldar in undercoating on the sprue, which is why this one has come away so easily. That's it in place. Oh, okay, excellent. I thought that I was missing a little chip out of the fur on that sort of moth cloak, but it's not. It's actually where the top of the rainbow actually slots into it. Okay, no other paint touch-ups. All right, Ezra Apnit, once he's dried, is done. Just going to get some goblin green out onto the wet palette. Looking back on it, at some stage I may actually replace that hand. It's not exactly feminine, but it'll do from a distance for the time being. Touch that up there, and she's done. Just quickly nash on, and I'll do the green on all the camo cloaks, and I'll check back in if anybody gets completed as a result of it. Alright, I did say I would check back in if any of them were finished off just with the green, and that is the case with a Shoggy Domo. Going to be moving on to the black now, and black is going to be getting used for an awful lot of, I guess, sort of undercoats for hair and tunics and metal where it's rubbed off there, and in some cases it could well just be adding back in sort of camo lines. Okay, I don't think this is going to finish anybody off, but I'll get on with all the black stuff. Alright, I've swapped to Stonewall Grey. Now, yes, Hark's sleeve here. Oh, yeah, that's too dark. Oh, alright, let's see if I can colour match this. It's not too out of place. I've still got to do the trim on that. Okay, the reason why I swapped to the grey was because the uniforms where I've had to redo them, when I originally did them, they started off with a black undercoat and then a grey highlight, and then it was a black wash. Ugh, I've missed a whole swag of uniform unlock in there. That's the thing, that's what I've been finding. It's the damage is kind of so widespread all around that it is difficult to pick up on a lot of the time. Swapping brown here for a wee bit of overbrush on hair and that sort of thing. Tell you what, it actually helps if you use the right brown colour. A wee bit more of a tweak back up. Shite. And you know what? With that, I'm going to call Doc Dorden done. Let's try again with Bragg. Let's get this straight silver reattached. And I can certainly remember what a pain in the backside it was making all of these things. But that's McVenna done. There's a couple of areas I want to knock back with a little bit of black wash. First of all, I'm going to do Try Again's hair. Yeah, that's just brought it back. That's good. Remember Q's uniform. Not Q. Larkin. I did not make Elijah Q model. I don't think. Little feather that he was. Yeah, that's blended that back in nicely. And then it's the two commissars' hats. Tell you what, while I've got them here, I'll just quickly swap brushes and do the edging on that cuff. I may as well carry on with Hark, just while I'm thinking about it. Just a wee few odds and ends of gold where that is rubbed away, just on the braiding. One more colour and he's done. A wee bit just down the bottom on the power sword of Hieronymo Zonda. There's a couple of flesh touch-ups to do on some of them, and that's going to need a wee highlight on it as well. But Gol Kalia, I remembered his name this time, is almost done. Nose on him. Broston? Bonin? And yeah, Larkin was in quite a bad way. Yeah, it's looking far more human. Gunmetal. Right, again, the main stuff was on Larkin here. He does get put through the wars, doesn't he? And then I'll do a full fresh undercoat on the power sword here. Now what I am very quickly going to do is a quick watered down, just a wee bit, flesh wash on the flesh areas that I've just painted back over. And then I'll do a elf flesh highlight on it. Basically just, well, because I know that that's what I did originally, it's essentially just to sort of colour match it and get it to blend. And some of them, certainly on the faces, I've just got to be real careful with what I'm doing, because I don't want to be getting it on their eyes, because I painted all of the eyeballs on these. What on earth was I thinking? Alright, I'm going to take some time out and leave that flesh wash to dry before I carry on with anything else. Alrighty, let us get Hark done and dusted. And the only thing outstanding is the red around his cap. There was just a wee chip there, and I'm not going to try and do the brim that's sort of like under the collar at the back there. And just red that right in. Hark done. Woohoo! 6 so far. Okay. And Gaunt himself needed a wee bit of a touch up on red on his cap too. Right, 5 left in this section. Let us break out the elf flesh. Gol Kalia, done. Try Again Bragg, done. Quick double check all around, done. Oh, we are cooking with gas. Alright, the final 2, the ones where most had to be redone. Okay, there you go, Larkin, old fella. That's your flesh all sorted. And while I've got you there, let's just have a wee bit of a highlight on that uniform that I had to redo. I tell you what, it is absolutely scorching around here and my wet palette is not wetting. Just realised he's not done. See the area that's too light on his camo cloak? Larkin, done. Now on Bragg's cloak here, I am just redoing that sort of darker tone, and I'm relatively certain it was just using some old green wash. I'll just use that to blend it in. Yeah, that's got to be right. This time, done. And from what I can tell, the only thing left to do is the power sword of Hieronymus Zondar. Right, let's deal with this power sword. Okay, I'm starting off with a white background because I want a sort of flare, and that is going all the way up the back, certainly around the tip, and down in a couple of places on the blade. And then I'm going to start filling in some areas on the blade edges itself, and then the same on the other side. Now that does need a little bit of time to dry before the next coat. And this is one really old bottle of Citadel Enchanted Blue. I'm just going to do a line up the back here, and I don't mind too much if it's raggy. In fact, I would prefer it if it is. And then I'm just going to try and pick my way and not go outside the lines of the white. Yeah, I'm happy with the way that's looking. One more coat and we're done. And the very final coat. Let me see if I can just manage to skip inside those blue outlines with a wee bit more white. I am going to call that done. Let's go get some glamour shots. I'm going to wrap this video up for the time being here. It is obviously not complete. There will be a part 2, possibly a part 3, depending on how much work there is to do on the remaining 4.5 trays of miniatures. I didn't realise that I already had so much footage, so it seems sensible to break it up and put it in more palatable chunks. Otherwise nobody's going to watch it if it's a 3-hour epic. If, however, you have managed to make it this far and you want to see the rest of the project, then please do hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. A thumbs up on the video would be absolutely smashing. Comments on progress, words of encouragement are always appreciated in the comment section down below for that. We will leave it there. There will be more from the Tanith in the very near future. Obviously, there are the vlog style videos where you can keep up with track of all of the rest of the stuff that I'm doing. But until I see you good folk next time, do take care of yourself. Tulip for now.